When we picture a teacher's day, we usually imagine hours spent at a whiteboard. But the hidden reality is that actual instruction time is constantly being eaten away by a mountain of legally mandated administrative tracking. A massive portion of this paperwork is dedicated to tracking educational accommodations for special education and Section 504 students, a demographic that has grown rapidly as students navigate the post-COVID learning landscape. This chart shows how that administrative burden scales throughout a single day. In first period, a general education teacher might have 6 of these students requiring up to 40 different special services. By the time the bell rings for fifth period, that cumulative roster has ballooned to 27 students, bringing with them a staggering 141 potential services to track. To manage this avalanche of data, educators are largely left to rely on homemade spreadsheets or to dig through physical filing cabinets. It's an incredibly laborious process of data entry that actively drains hours away from lesson planning and direct student engagement. Relying on this kind of high-friction analog system creates an incredibly fragile environment. With over 100 distinct services to log manually every single day, missing a required accommodation becomes statistically inevitable. Co-founder Sarah Duncan experienced this firsthand. During her time in school administration, she found that extracting damaging chain reaction. When the documentation breaks down, the actual delivery of those required supports inside the classroom becomes highly inconsistent. This lack of reporting creates a massive data vacuum at the top level. Without up-to-date tracking, administrators and support staff are left completely in the dark, unable to make informed academic, behavioral, or social-emotional decisions for the child. When these decisions are made without data, the most vulnerable students can spend months without the specific interventions they need. This lack of visibility is a primary driver of the achievement gap, as the system loses its ability to identify and address learning declines in real time. Manual tracking wastes teaching hours and severs the school's ability to monitor its most vulnerable populations. The consequences of this disconnect don't stay contained within the school walls. Inadequate or undocumented services quickly lead to severe friction with upset families who expect their children's plans to be honored, and these families have powerful legal backing. These educational plans are strictly governed by federal frameworks, specifically the Americans with Disabilities Act and IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. This chart illustrates the macro-financial stakes at play. The federal government spends $76.8 billion annually on IDEA programs, and every cent of that funding is legally tethered to strict compliance and accurate reporting. In a legal context, if a service isn't documented, the law often treats it as if it never happened. This oversight creates significant liability for a district, giving families clear grounds for grievances and lawsuits under their ADA and IDEA rights. Schools are left to navigate a difficult trade-off, constantly splitting their focus between direct student support and growing administrative demands of legal risk management. The Empowering K12 app was built to act as a technological circuit breaker, designed specifically to halt this cycle of undocumented failure at its source. It operates by eliminating the friction of data entry. The platform takes scattered special education, Section 504, and ESL rosters and consolidates them into a single, device-friendly access point. Looking at the interface, a digital profile replaces physical files. Essential details like the student's ID and plan start date are instantly accessible. On the right, the system tracks compliance. Teachers review specific services and log their implementation or decline with a single tap. Because the interface is built for the realities of the classroom, the speed of this workflow is drastically accelerated. A documentation process that historically took hours to compile can now be completed accurately in under 60 seconds. By replacing analog friction with an intuitive user interface, the application seamlessly aligns strict legal compliance with proactive, individualized student care. The real-world validation of this approach is striking. One teacher reported back, quote, "I just did all my first period accommodations, 12.5 seconds. Phenomenal." Another noted that documenting the required accommodations for a single student took exactly 4 seconds from start to finish. Scale those saved seconds across the entire country, and the impact is massive. There are currently 7.2 million special education students nationwide who rely entirely on this tracking system functioning correctly. The true value of this technology goes straight to the schedule. It takes the thousands of instructional hours previously stolen by administrative overhead and returns them directly to the classroom. Empowering K-12 takes a crippling administrative burden and turns it back into an active educational opportunity, giving teachers the time and the tools to do what they do best: teach.